And here we are. Welcome back to the Redshirt Sophomore, where we never sit out. We are your hosts, MD and CD. What is going on? We're in more bowl games. That's right. This is bowl game previews part two of what, four parts? But then you also get the playoffs, the national championships going to have their own thing. So it's like, really, this is part two of like five. If you guys want to keep hearing these previews, because we're kind of on a roll right now with our picks. I'm kind of killing the bull pool. If you join the Redshirt Sophomore bull pool, thank you guys so much for participating. It's been really cool seeing all your entries. I'm kind of killing it right now, so just be careful, y'all people at the top there. But make sure you guys, if you guys want to see parts 3, 4, and 5, stick around. You know, if you like this one, like the content, like the video, as we always say, possibly send us a subscription our way. We're at, I believe, over 145 now subscribers. That is incredible, more than I could have possibly imagined at this point in this podcast history. Thank you guys so much. So if you guys would consider subscribing to us, please do. Please do. And if you're on Spotify, we love our listeners on Spotify. Make sure you guys give us a 5-star review if you really like our content, and give us a follow if you want to hear more and get alerts. Make sure you hit that notification button. CD, are you excited? I mean, I am. I think I beat you last week, but we still both were positive ATS. So you still got some catching up to do, because I reset the clock, right? You beat me straight up and straight up wins in the regular season. I beat you ATS. Now the bowl season comes around, and you got a chance to redeem yourself ATS wise. So how do you feel about this week?
This week I feel better about last week. Last week you just had, to me, there was so much like just gut feeling, like, okay, who's gonna show up, who doesn't show up, and like I was the wrong end on a couple of those games. But no, I'm ready to bounce back for sure, for sure.
Yeah, I feel really good about a lot of these games this week as well, but I also felt good about some of the game last week. Like, I know I talked about I wasn't super confident about Fresno State, but right as that game kicked off, I was like, all right, Fresno State's gonna win. Let's go.
Yeah.
But I feel really good. What are we covering? Are we 12 bowl games today, all the way up to UNLV, Kansas? Is
Yep.
that
Yep.
the
Yep.
last
Yep.
bowl game we're gonna be talking about? So we're covering all of the bowl games up from Thursday up until Tuesday this upcoming week. Be sure to check out next Tuesday or Monday. We'll let you guys know when we want that episode to come out for the next full week of bowl game slate. So, ready to get into it, CD?
Yes, sir.
Well, before we get into the actual previews themselves, let's recap our week last week a little bit. Look, of course, Dawson's Diner, and I never learn. It seems like I personally took it at +3, but I didn't put it out on Twitter. And most of the lines that were out there were at 2.5. There were some threes out there. And I told you guys that I liked it either way. So I put it on Dawson's Diner +2.5. So of course, Dawson's Diner takes an L, even though I didn't personally take an L. And we picked the game at 3. The games that we picked at 3, right? If you're looking at the graphic on YouTube, you can see that our spreads pushed in that game. CD was on Jack State. I was in Louisiana. That was the only game though that I was like, man, that was the game I was most confident in last week, and it's also the only game that I don't regret taking that side for, and that I would take the other side if they were to play again. 3 defensive touchdowns
Mhm.
for Louisiana, and you couldn't win that ball game. Come on, what do we? Logan Smothers marches out there, and you're telling me you can't win that football game? That's crazy. That's crazy. Come on.
It's tough. That's really, really tough. But hey, there were some other good games though, for sure. Saturday, that's one of the best days of the year, without a doubt. There's like 5 to 6 bowl games every year. A lot of them are some teams maybe you didn't get to watch a ton of throughout the regular season, but they just get a chance to showcase their talents. We had some pretty high level football, right? With UCLA showing up and playing well, Texas Tech playing well as well. Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. Some backup quarterbacks with Ohio balling out, and then Boise State, having their backup quarterbacks, and it's like it didn't work too well.
Yeah, are there any games you went 4-3 ATS this week? 4-4 straight up. I went 4-4 straight up, 6-1 ATS. Are there any games on here that you regret taking? No one should regret taking Old Dominion, by the way. How are we
I was
supposed
about
to
to
know
say
that their quarterback that they wanted to convert to tight end was going to come in the game and just throw 5 touchdowns? How do you?
he's
We
also
were
in the
not.
transfer portal, I believe. So
He is
like,
in the transfer portal. That's
what a day we are in college football. But that one killed me. I had mega points in that in our bowl pool, which is up the UTSA one scared the out of me.
yeah.
when we found out that Frank Harris was not going to dress. And I was like, okay, McCown, okay, Owen McCown, and then he throws 2 picks, and we're like, well, shit. But here we are. UTSA got the win and covered, so I'm a happy man today.
So, do you regret taking New Mexico State? I'll ask you that, or Georgia Southern.
Uh, Georgia Southern, yes, because I was like, okay, maybe I kind of was on the opposite side of both those. For all the reasons I took Georgia State, were all the reasons I didn't take Fresno State, which is interesting there, because I was thinking Georgia Southern would, stop the bleeding and bounce back with Davis Brin and everyone there. Did not happen at all. And Ohio, who's a really good football team and has a really good coach and defense, balled out in that first game there. Also, like with Fresno State, like they bounced back and they are more talented than New Mexico State, and they played up to their billing, and they played really really well. So good to see them. I didn't have a ton of confidence in either of those games in our bowl pool, so like didn't hurt me too much, but yeah, it hurt me in this one where we picked them.
Yeah, the Georgia Southern one though. Here's what I'll say. Uh, Man, I was exactly right about Davis Brin falling apart when he faces a good pass defense. I
Yeah.
hit that one on the head. But also the night before, if you went on like they did like an Instagram live of some of the players getting absolutely smacked at the bars. That literally that night at 4 a.m. before the game. So if you were a Georgia Southern veteran and woke up to that, you were probably a little bit disappointed to find out that these 18, 19, 20-year-old kids are trying to actually have fun in their time in college. God forbid,
Yeah. And
like so but
there's a
yeah,
lot being said about that though with Clay Helton, and like how do you not have him ready to play? But at the same time, like how do you get kids ready to play in Myrtle Beach for a 10 a.m. game? Like it's a lot of different ways you can handle it, which is tough,
yeah,
but
kids that
happy
are
for
excited to go home
Georgia's.
for a break. Yeah. Here's the other thing too. So Dawson's Diner, right? I already explained Louisiana plus 2.5. If you Spotify listeners can't see the graphic here, or if you didn't tune in last week, Ohio, Georgia Southern under 49 for 2.5 quarters. That looked like money. A 28-point third quarter that included Davis Brin just throwing pick after pick and then long touchdown, long touchdown. It just decimated me. So Davis Brin, thank you for just absolutely blowing the doors off that under
That's what you get
in
for talking about him.
in the third. Well, look, I mean,
You were right.
Ohio
That's what you
Ohio
get.
covered. And I'll say this, in the here I took Georgia Southern to win straight up. In the bowl pools that I was in, I took Ohio and I didn't put a lot of points on them because I like, and if I take a dog like ATS, like, I kind of like to sometimes take them to win in the bowl pool, but then just not put a lot of points in them, assuming that other people like will try to pick the winner, maybe put a lot of points. I don't know, just a kind of a strategy that I have for the bowl pools. So the bowl pool, it made me look pretty good there. So, but yeah, sorry, Davis Brin. I don't know if you deserve that, but you will probably not be starting quarterback there next year. I don't know whether you have eligibility or not. Brutal performance, brutal performance. On the other hand, what's his name? They're literally fifth string running back or whatever. 5 touchdowns. That was awesome. This is just a great slate of football. I really enjoyed watching it. UCLA I enjoyed watching. I enjoyed watching Texas Tech. Baron Morton played fantastic. UTSA, Owen McCown, who by the way is Josh McCown's kid. You guys didn't know that? It was really Chad Pennington's kid versus Josh McCown's kid in the Frisco Bowl there. So that was pretty hilarious, if you ask me. But yeah, I felt good though. I was seeing the board well, 6-1. Uh, in the bowl pool, I believe I am 6-2. So love to see it. Or I guess 7-2 because we didn't cover the celebration pool here, but I took Florida A&M. But anyways, CD, you ready to get into the actual previews for this week?
Let's get after it.
Let's talk Boca Raton. Let's talk Syracuse and let's talk USF. Syracuse favored by 3 in this game. No Garrett Schrader. No Carlos Del Rio. No Leon Lowry. And USF kind of looks like they're getting everyone that they really, really need back in this game. Uh, yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts? I know your thoughts of this game. I know you really like this game. I'm a little bit fearful, more fearful than you are. But let's hear what you got.
Well, I'm gonna go USF here, and obviously as a dog, I'll take the points as well. I mean, I don't think they're that great. I do like Alex Golish. I love the way the program trending, right? I don't think it'll see, and I like the way Syracuse is trending as well. Fran Brown was a great job building a staff. We've done a whole video on that. So go check that out if you're a Syracuse fan or if you're curious to learn about what we think about the Syracuse hire there. But I think with this team right now, like this is not a great football team. You're down to your third string quarterback, a redshirt freshman guy, and some wildcat. Like, maybe it can work in a bowl game, maybe it can't. But it's also like you're in Syracuse. We talked about this with Georgia Southern, and you're going down to Boca Raton, okay? Like you have to show up ready to play. And like I'm not gonna pick this based on totally vibes, but at the same time, like a lot of things working against Syracuse. USF already knows it's like to be in Florida. A lot of these kids probably take their spring break to Boca Raton, Fort Lauderdale area, being right in Tampa there. So I don't know. I just think Byron Brown can get after it. Syracuse, LaQuint Allen's about just the only good player, really good player left on this roster. And I'm sure he'll be featured plenty, and he's a really good player in his own right. But I think better days are ahead for Syracuse, but not this game.
Yeah, I will say the thing that concerns me about USF, both of their guards, experienced some injuries at the end of the year. I don't know if those guys are playing. If they don't play, I
Hmm.
think that's kind of a big deal, right? If you lose two guys on your offensive line, it's kind of a big
Yep.
deal there. USF has one of the worst pass defenses in the entire country, right? But what makes me feel better about that is that Syracuse, I don't know that they'll be able to take advantage of that,
Who's
right?
throwing the ball? Yeah.
Like we talked about New Mexico State when they played Fresno State. New Mexico State has a terrible pass defense, but Fresno State can take advantage of it, right? In this case, I don't think Syracuse can necessarily take advantage of that. And USF's run defense isn't particularly great either, but they kind of load the box there. Maybe they can get some stops on the Quinn Allen. I'm going to take USF +3, and I'm going to take them to win straight up. I don't feel great about that at all. It'd be irresponsible to place money on this game. It would be irresponsible for any human being to place money in this game if they are actually confident that they could win this bet. I know you feel really, really good about USF, but I don't know. We had this conversation before, and CD almost convinced me to put this on Dawson's Diner, but I cannot, in the right mind, do that at all. Uh, but yeah, I mean, also the other dynamic too is obviously no Dino Babers. Like, there's just so many question marks in this game. I feel like I'll take the team that's basically playing a home game. I'll take the team that's catching three. I'll take the team that's got their quarterback. I'll take the team that has a good coach. That's Alec Golesh. So that's what I'll take. So I guess we're riding on the same wavelength there. But I would not be surprised. Like you talked about this before. Syracuse won some games down the stretch without particularly good quarterback play at all.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. It's super, super interesting. You mentioned the matchup there with USF's pass defense against a pretty weak Syracuse passing game as of right now, as it stands, which obviously favors USF because they can load the box, stop the runs, the Wildcat. But like you mentioned, yeah, at the end of the ACC schedule, like yeah, they didn't beat great teams, but they still beat them. Playing with a quarterback that had half a shoulder, and everyone knew what they were gonna do. It was super interesting there, and I thought Tino Favors and Nunzio Campanile, I think that's how you say his name, the interim head coach there, did a really good job to get those guys ready to play. So yeah, it's tough though. Syracuse lose some guys in the portal, Leon Lowry, Jeremiah Wilson, a D lineman as well, Terry Lockett, which is tough. But I'm excited to see what Alex Golesh. I think he's gonna get really amped up to play this game. He's gonna scheme some stuff open for USF, who's been explosive at times in the American in their own right. Yeah, this game definitely gonna be one I want to watch and check out because it's super interesting, but at the same time, like it's interesting for like what makes bowl games so special, right? Because it's like who's gonna show up. We're gonna see some guys we've never seen before, and hopefully they're gonna make some plays. That's also the interesting thing. Like we talked about it with backup quarterbacks and third string quarterbacks. We've had a couple games now where we're down to their third string quarterback, and like how do they show up and play? And like sometimes you could just still run the ball and do whatever you want and play good defense against a team like in the bowl game like Ohio did, right? But then it's also like if Boise State's playing UCLA with their third string quarterback and they kind of get trounced there. It's really tough both ways.
Yeah, here's some teams that were playing with their third string quarterback up until this point. Ohio, who won. Louisiana, they did not win. Boise State, they did not win. Western Kentucky, they did win. And that's it. So there's four of them. So they're
Two
two
and
and two
two.
so far in the bowl games. It's not terrible, but if you want to talk about quarterback play, Byron Brown has been phenomenal this year.
Mm-hmm.
Phenomenal.
It's a freshman.
Yeah, exactly. He's been absolutely phenomenal. And now is that a lot of that goalish absolutely drawing up some stuff, some seeds for him? Yes. But I mean, he played terribly against Alabama, but he had some games where he was fantastic. The Navy game stands out to me, where he was phenomenal. The Memphis game stands out when he was phenomenal. The Charlotte game recently, he was phenomenal. I he
Da-
can elevate a
Down
team
the
for sure.
stretch as well. Like he got better as he went on, like as freshmen, young quarterbacks do. And your play caller settles in, right? A guy that's adjusting to be a head coach and a play caller and all that other stuff, you know.
Yeah, I mean, 34 total touchdowns, only 11 interceptions. You have like 3,800 yards total. That's pretty dang good for a freshman there in the American. So I like what we're talking. I like USF here. I think it's the right play, but I don't feel great about it at all. But I know you do, so we'll see how it turns out. I felt great about Louisiana last week, and we saw how that turned out. So I mean, they blew it, but what do you know? Let's talk about Georgia Tech, UCF. Georgia Tech catching 4.5 in the Gasparilla Bowl. Now I'm sure there's a ton of lines out there that are like 5.5, but okay, this is we're picking for the show. Okay, guys, like I made this graphic beforehand. We're gonna pick at 4.5. All right.
There's
Let's
still
just
4.5s out there as well.
exactly. All right. We're gonna pick at 4.5. We're gonna have fun. And look, the matchup in this game, you're facing two teams that are kind of similar. Both teams are really good at running the ball. Both teams do not have a particularly good run defense. And you got two quarterbacks that are pretty athletic that are playing this game. It's hard for me to pick this game because one, Georgia Tech is the weirdest team of all time this year. They lose
What
to
are they gonna
Bowling
do?
Green. They beat
Who are they gonna show up
Miami.
as? Yeah.
I mean, they came back and made it close with Georgia. They beat North Carolina. They lose to Boston College. I mean, like what are we getting from Georgia Tech, right? And UCF in the same manner. Like, are we getting the team that slaughtered Oklahoma State, right? Or are we getting another one of those Gus Malzahn games where you don't show up, you get shut down, and you can't figure out what to do on offense, and then your defense gets obliterated. Tough to see. Tough to see. I guess I'll give you some stats because I mean that sometimes when you don't know what side to pick, you can just look at some stats. Georgia Tech is 131st in run defense, total yards allowed on the ground per game. There's 133 teams in college football at the Division I level. That's pretty abysmal. That's pretty abysmal. UCF, on the other hand, is fifth in rushing offense. Kind of a matchup advantage there for UCF, if you're asking me. So, however, Georgia Tech has a pretty decent pass game. UCF's secondary might be a little thin due to injuries, transfer portal. Also, but then on the other side again, no Kyle Kennard for Georgia Tech on the edge there. That's a big deal to their defense. A lot of moving parts here. You got any thoughts? Any sides? Any unique angles to attack this?
Yeah, you mentioned Georgia Tech's a team I followed pretty closely. I took their over on the year. It was a whirlwind. You did mention that. At times it looked fantastic when Hayes King was clicking and he was moving the ball with his legs and his arms, and I love their zone and their running scheme with everyone there. They're stable at backs. It was really awesome to watch at times, but then sometimes they would just like blow games and games would get out of hand from them. And what I bring back to this is I think back to their Boston College game, right? Where they played Tommy Castellanos, right? Stud in himself. He really exposed them, right? Both with his legs and with his arms. And I think John Rice Plumlee can do the same with UCF. It does scare me because Gus Malzahn is not great in bowl games. He is 3-6, including the infamous loss to UCF, right, in that New Year's Six bowl game, which sent them on their national championship parade. Now here he is for UCF, right, and he gets 4.5 points, or he's favored by 4.5 against Georgia Tech. I like the way they finished the season, though. I really do. I thought that Texas Tech game was brutal. Texas Tech was playing a lot better down the stretch, and you almost went into their place and beat them. You had a blocked PAT in the fourth quarter that would have tied the football game. Yeah, I like Plumlee with his legs and his arms getting better. Javon Baker and others are really talented. RJ Harvey obviously can get done on the ground against Georgia Tech. That's why I'm leaning UCF here. I think they run the ball. I think they'll scheme stuff open. I like the I like both these teams, right? I think both these teams are explosive in their own rights. I think UCF gets it done here.
Yeah, I'll take UCF too and the points. Eat them up, gobble them up. I do
I
think
will
is there.
say
It could go either way though. It could. I don't know, man, but I'll still take UCF.
I'm excited to watch Eric Singleton for Georgia Tech. I feel like the last time we watched him, a lot of people really tuned into him was against Clemson, and he had some drops, which were tough early in that football game. He really settled in, made some nice plays against Georgia in that rivalry game there. He was a big win in their retention game, right? Keeping him from transferring in the portal. He's a true freshman star for them at receiver. He's really, really special. So to see him go up against UCF, right, without Corey Thornton, their starting quarterback, will be really, really interesting. And I think you got a safe couple of DBs out with injuries as well, which could be attacked there. But I still like UCF here.
Yeah. Look at if Haynes King throws for 400 yards, which sometimes he does. The classic 400-yard, 4 touchdown, 3 interception game from Haynes King.
That's the thing. There's gonna be 3 picks
That
too.
that that's a thing. That's a thing that he does. I could see him. I could see him winning this ball game, but yeah, just give me UCF. I don't know. I don't feel great about it, but I don't feel great about it. But yeah, we'll take it. We'll take it. We're probably gonna eat this one after. We're probably gonna end up eating this one after because you're the
This is a
guy.
fan.
You're the Georgia Tech guy.
I've been on them. I'll probably take their over again next year. I got to check their schedule, but I'm a fan of what they're doing there. Anyways, I do this game's on Friday, right? Friday evening. This game that you want to tune into, right? If you're not doing anything for Friday and you're getting ready for your holiday parties, whatever you're doing, throw on the Gasparilla Bowl, man. This is actually a really exciting matchup. When this was announced to be the bowl game, I was like, okay, these two teams, super really interesting, similar in their own rights. Yeah, I'm really excited.
Let's go to Orlando. Let's go to the Cure Bowl. Let's talk about Troy versus Duke. Two teams without their head coaches for this game. Believe it or not. Believe it or not, Duke is catching 7.5 versus Troy. Troy favored. Gunnar Watson, last game as a Troy Trojan.
Gonna miss
You
him,
got
man.
you got an onslaught of Duke players in the portal, including Riley Leonard. I mean, who didn't play for most of the season anyways, right? It's gonna be Grayson Loftus in this game again. No Jordan Waters, no Jalen Calhoun who opted out for the NFL, no Graham Barden who opted out for the NFL, no Brandon Johnson who's in the transfer portal. Elite player in their secondary they're not gonna have. I mean, jeez. I don't know. I mean, I'm not gonna think too hard about it. I'm gonna take Troy in the points, the 7.5. I don't like that we're catching the hook there at the 7.5. I gotta take it. I think Troy's a lot better team. Now, no John Summerall. I guess it's a big deal, but I think not having Mike Elko is a bigger deal for Duke. I really think so.
Well,
And somehow
and
I you go ahead.
and also Trooper Taylor is the interim head coach, but he's also managing a dual role, being an intern head coach for Duke and also starting his job recruiting and developing players at Texas A&M for them as well.
Yes, absolutely. Now you get Jacquez Moore back from the transfer portal, which is huge because honestly, he's better than Jordan Waters. Don't at me.
And that's the thing, real quick about that. Like we mentioned this in our video about Jacquez Moore. Like the more touches he gets, the better it is. And like that's the more touches that Jordan Waters is not getting. And we like Jordan Waters in his own right for sure, but Moore is special what he can do with the ball in his hands, especially in a very limited offense where you're gonna have, you're down a couple offensive linemen, you're down to your Grayson Loftus. He's gonna be a guy that needs to make plays and turn nothing into something and get big chunk plays for you on the ground game there and through the receiving as well. But yeah, it's almost like kind of just part to see, and he's going to get 30 carries, 30 touches today, or I'm sorry, 30 touches in this bowl game, and then he can do something special with it.
Yeah, and so for Troy, right, your biggest transfer portal loss that you're not playing this game is Jaden McDonald, their linebacker there. But in reality, everyone else, because John Summerall is like, hey, look, if you go on the transfer portal before this bowl game, don't expect me to help you at Tulane. Don't expect me. Don't ask for
That's
help at
awesome.
Tulane, which is
But
awesome for John Summerall to
well,
say that.
real quick though, but it's kind of frustrating. Like it's just because of the coaching count, the college football calendar, and I'm not going to blame Summerall, but like at the same time, like he can go in the portal, the coaching portal, and
Yes,
get a job
exactly.
while no one else can, which is frustrating for sure. If you're a player in the portal, but also like finish what you started out there. There will be, if you're a good enough player, there will be spots for you just about anywhere in the country.
Yeah, so I'm all over that. Other guys that are out for Duke, RJ Oben, an edge rusher for them. Aeneas Peebles, starting defensive lineman there. Dorian Mousey, linebacker that gets a lot of snaps. Jalen Stinson. He might be playing. I don't know, but so Scott Elliott, their center, didn't play in the last few games. Who knows if he's coming back? Terry Moore, he got hurt late in the season. Who knows if he's coming back? They're just so, but I mean, Dwayne Carter, he might be opting out. I'm not sure. I have a feeling that he's going to play, but who knows? I like the continuity that I'm getting from Troy's roster. I like that most of the coaching staff is still there and not focusing on other jobs elsewhere. I like uh I like Troy, 7.5. I'll take it. And in the bowl pool, I think I have quite a bit of points on Troy. I think in one bowl pool I have 38 confidence points on them. So I feel really good about Troy winning, but 7.5 is it's a lot of points.
It is, but I do think this game can get out of hand, and if it does, it's a tough sledding for Duke to try to get back in this football game because of their O line with some of the opt outs and some of the injuries and transfer portals there, and with a young quarterback, Grayson Loftus, this year without your starting wide receiver, Jalen Calhoun, you mentioned, and some other wide receivers as well. Really tough because I think Troy's the best part of their roster, I think, is their D line. They got some boys up front, right? Javon Solomon, among others, is really, really good. And they can get after um that those holes in that O line, especially if you're dropping back to pass the ball, who knows what's gonna happen there. But yeah, I think Kamani Vidal. The thing is I'd love this game to keep it close with Duke if Mike Elko's a coach, right? Like Mike Elko just doesn't get blown out in football games, right? Like he's just that good, has his team that well prepared for the week. The problem is he's not there anymore. You mentioned him being gone to Texas A&M. This is really going to sway my decision. So on the surface, 7.5 seems like a lot, but also like this is a new reality of Duke, right? Like Mike Elko is gone, Trooper Taylor's gone. A lot of your star players are gone. 7.5 sounds about right, and I think give me the team I think is going to win and could blow them out, which could obviously cover that 7.5.
Let's go to the Camila Bowl in Montgomery, Alabama. Let's talk Arkansas State versus Northern Illinois. An average Sun Belt team versus an average MAC team. Hmm.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Hmm. I think you guys know where I might be going with this. I love the Sun Belt. Sun Belt versus MAC. Give me the Sun Belt all day, except
I agree.
Ohio versus Georgia Southern. We can scratch that one, right? That was an elite MAC team playing an average Sun Belt team, right? Arkansas State. Here's my thing about Arkansas State. Obviously, Jalen Raynor has played out of his mind this year, right? But Arkansas has played up some of the competition that they played against. Now, Troy, they kind of got blown out by, but they've played really well. They manhandled Texas State. They played really good in some other games. Offensively, they're fine. Defensively, they're fine. In the transfer portal, you're going to lose Javante Mackey, who's committed to Memphis. So be it, right? Dane Motley, the Motley crew. Dude, he's played just as well in those games. He's going to be taking over that Mike linebacker role. I think he's pretty solid. I think he's pretty solid. I'm sure he's going to be absolutely jacked up to play. Uh, you're not going to have Rustmeyer for the bowl game, but he's hardly played all year anyways. I really think Arkansas State's good, man. Jacob Bayer, their starting center, who's kind of a dog. He's going to be back for the game after surgery. I just, Zach Wallace, he might not be playing in the game, but Jacquez Cross is kind of a dude at running back. So I don't know. I really like Arkansas State in this spot. I got it at 2.5 for Dawson's Diner. A little sneak peek preview there. Give me the Red Wolves -3 in this game. I'll be taking another favorite in this go around in the bowl games. Another favorite. For Northern Illinois, like they're fine. And look, Trayvon Rudolph coming back from the transfer portal, their stud wide receiver. That's a big deal.
Awesome.
Huge,
That's
huge,
awesome.
huge, huge deal. Withdrawn from the transfer portal, massive. But I don't have a whole lot of other receivers. You're losing your starting center to the transfer portal. He's going to Louisville. I don't know, man. I like Rocky Lombardi. I don't love him. I think Arkansas State is just a much better team. And if you're gonna give me an average Sun Belt team versus an average MAC team, I will be taking the Sun Belt team all day long.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you there. I'll take Arkansas State as well. The thing is, I do hate to go against Rocky Lombardi in his last go around there with the Northern Illinois Husky. I think he's so awesome. He's about as MAC quarterback as you get, which is a compliment, by the way. Don't let anybody else tell you otherwise. But yeah, Arkansas State's a little bit more talented. I do love how dynamic Jalen Raynor is. I love that they have him still on his team. Now, who knows what the portal brings in the next window when it opens, but I think he's a big get, a big revelation for Butch Jones and staff there. Probably save their jobs, looking to continue right the momentum that they have built throughout the year with it. It's gonna be tough though to stop the run, right? I do like the way Northern Illinois rotates Antonio Brown and Gavin Williams, I'm sorry. Well, Brown probably the bell cow there, has some big explosive plays in him. But I do like Williams up the middle. I like the way they rotate those guys. You mentioned Trayvon Rudolph coming back is a huge get for them, especially without their starting center, Pete Nagura, going to Louisville. Um, so it should be a fun game. And it's also always fun for a team up in the MAC to travel down to Montgomery, Alabama, play a bowl game, sightsee a little bit. But I think Arkansas State's ready for it. You mentioned Jalen Raynor. Give me 3.5. They've been a wagon to us all year. Let's continue riding that wave.
Absolutely. And they've been so good to me this year. And look, everyone was ready to leave him in a ditch. Not us, though. Not this show. Not this show. By the way, every time they've been on Dawson's Diner this year, it's cashed. So just be careful, Northern Illinois fans. Just be careful. And you're looking at two guys that are from Northern Illinois, by the way. So I have all the respect to NIU in the world. I mean,
Mhm.
all the respect. You kidding me? We've played our fair share of NCAA dynasties with Northern Illinois, the Huskies. All right.
Jordan Lynch is a legend, by the way, where we're from. He is a baller for you NIU fans, and right. You name drop Jordan Lynch. That he's a hero, right? Where we come from. But yeah, it could be a tough sledding game for them.
Let's go to the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl. Let's talk James Madison, who made it to a bowl game, snaps. After not enough six and
Somehow.
six
That's
teams, after not enough 6-6 teams qualified for bowl games, they're going to be playing against Air Force, another pretty good team in their own right. JMU
Mhm.
-2.5. So Air Force, the underdog in this game. James Madison, they lose Kurt Signetti, right? He goes to Indiana. There's a slew of players in the transfer portal, but it feels like a lot of those players are going to play. Am I incorrect in saying that? It feels like a lot of these guys are going to play. I don't know for sure.
I'm gonna go under the assumption for all the reports I have seen is that all of those players, just about all of them, will play, right? Which to me tells you a lot of different things. They're coming in, and yes, they have 1 foot in, 1 foot out. That's tough too, but also like they want to finish what they started here, and prove to everyone that why they should have been in a bowl game, why they should have been in the Sun Belt Championship, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously get a one last FU to NCAA before they're on their way out. It's tough to pick against Air Force in the Armed Forces Bowl, though, right? Not they kind of slowed down by at the end there. Zach Lear getting hurt had a lot to do with that, but at the same time, like James
He might
Madison
be
has kind of
back. Lavier
well,
might be back.
that's the thing. So you never know how it's going to happen. We talked about it with Fresno State, right? Streaking and that, or skidding down, and then had a great game in the bowl game. But then Georgia Southern on the other side of the coin was struggling too down the stretch, and that continued to struggle as well into the bowl game. Who knows how you can predict all that kind of stuff? What's your feeling on this game?
I like JMU, and I know I've taken the favorite every single game. And look, I promise there's going to be some underdog or two today that I will be picking, but it's not going to be this one. Yeah, if you're going to tell me that pretty much everyone James Madison's going to be playing in this game, like that roster, excluding Jalen Green, who obviously is going to be in the NFL, he's going to be a stud.
Yeah.
I I gotta take JMU. One of the best run defenses in the entire country, right? And frankly, not even close. right? So if they're gonna have a chance here to shut down Air Force in the run game, now Air Force when Zach Larry is in the game, they're very efficient passing the ball, but efficient doesn't necessarily mean they're gonna be consistently. How do I say this? They can't throw the ball a ton. They run the triple option, right? Troy Calhoun's a great coach, and here's the thing: Air Force wins bowl games. That's what they do. That's what they do. They win bowl games, and they're really good at it. But at the same time, this is James Madison's first bowl game. If you think they're not going to be fired up and ready to go, Jordan McLeod's not going to win this game. Maybe booster up his transfer portal hype, I guess. It seems like he's playing in this game. If he doesn't, then I would probably be taking Air Force here. But with the assumption that Jordan McLeod and crew is playing besides Jalen Green, I will be taking the Dukes. Sorry, Air Force. Is that unpatriotic? I don't know.
It's a shame. You can still pick James Madison and still be happy when Air Force wins. I'm gonna go James Madison as well here. You mentioned the talent they have on that roster, especially in that front seven. And even minus Jalen Green, I don't feel too bad about it. Yes, he's a dominant player in his own right, but also like you don't really need to rush the passer. You need to plug up gaps, play sound physical defense, which I believe they can do. The only thing that does hurt is you have five coaches going, five assistant coaches,
Yeah.
and your head coach going to Indiana, and it's they had to hire five temporary coaches. Now I'm sure they hired some guys that are familiar with triple option and the way Air Force runs it, which is a little bit interesting than your traditional triple option, but it's still similar principles in its own right. But I think it speaks volume that they want to come back. These players, I think that means a lot. And most of the time in bowl games, just like who wants to be there, how well do you prep, yada yada yada. That all matters. And I think like they're going to care about this football game. They want to go in and be dominant, put a statement on their time at James Madison before they move on to bigger and better pastures. But yeah, it's tough for Air Force. So they just limp down the stretch. Larry got hurt. We don't know for sure if he's playing. It sounds like hopefully he'll be back. But even so, who knows with the way James Madison's just been a wagon all year.
Yeah, and this could be one of those games though. We look back on and we're like, all right, we probably should have seen some of these guys actually opting out last second. And we probably should have seen it coming where Air Force was just able to run all over them, given that they have like an entire new coaching staff for
Yeah,
just this game. But I'll trust the talent, I guess, on JMU, and I'll trust the success they've had this season, and I'll trust the vibes. I'll trust the hey, these guys want to win their program's first ever bowl game, so I'll trust that. And what am I doing if I'm not riding the Sun Belt in these bowl games? What am I doing? What am I doing if I'm
they're,
not riding the Sun Belt?
you think they're what they're sending like 11 or 12 people
Yeah,
going to the bowl game? Like they're gonna be fired
yeah.
up to play.
Now
Minus
they're
Georgia
own
Southern.
they're 0-4 so far in the bowl games, but guess what?
That
They
changes.
can they can finish 8-4. Come on, Dukes. Come
No,
on,
no, they got
Dukes.
one win. App State got a win there. They're
Oh,
they're, they're
that's right.
chilling.
So they're 1-4. Because Georgia Southern lost, Louisiana lost, Old Dominion lost, and Marshall lost.
Sheesh. Yeah, but that's also the bottom of the barrel. We're talking about the class of the Sun Belt here and James Madison Dukes. Also, when Braden Schrager, who I love, by the way, late night Mountain West, when he balls out against Hawaii, Jordan McLeod can do the same here. I do think even if you get in a shootout here where you have to score multiple times in a row, right? When Zach Larry and company is just driving it down the teeth of that defense there because they have no idea how to stop triple option. That coaching staff has no idea how to adjust. I still think Jordan McLeod and those guys can still get you a win, and that's why I feel pretty good about taking James Madison. Not going to bet on it for sure, but that's why I feel pretty good.
It'd be irresponsible to bet on it.
Again, yeah, this is again we talked about it with the game, the USF Syracuse game, because of all the opt outs and the uncertainty and the quarterback position. Who knows? Like it's going to be those games where like you can live bet bowl games and feel pretty good about it. You can see what happens when they show up and whatnot. But except if you're Old Dominion in Western Kentucky. But um,
Thank you.
but yeah, to predict how these guys are gonna go and actually put money behind it is tough in a lot of these football games.
Let's go to the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. Another Sun Belt team and another Mountain West team we're going to be talking about here. And by the way, we're not done talking about Sun Belt Mountain West matchups today, by the way,
Yep,
either.
yep, yep.
But let's stick to potatoes. What do we know? Georgia State has been slaughtered in the transfer portal.
Huh.
Slaughtered. They might be a better team than Utah State. They might be. But
They
I mean,
they
no
uh, they
mark.
probably are. They probably are straight up. If you want to talk about just like if we're playing week 13 in the football season, I'm probably taking Georgia State, and I think that's reflected in that it's only a 2.5 point spread after all the opt outs. Sorry.
No Marcus Carroll. No Robert Lewis. No Montavious Cunningham. No Brown. Yeah, that's really it. But then really Utah State, all they're missing is Devin Dye at safety and potentially Avante Dickerson at corner. But sure, there'll be no Cooper Lega. But Levi Williams is a stud at quarterback in his own
He has been
right.
a baller.
When he has played, he has been a stud. Give me the Aggies. Give me Utah State -2.5. Another favorite. I think I've taken all favorites today. And I'm not normally one to do that. I'm normally the guy that's the underdog guy, but I'm doing it. This is not the week of the dog. And that's a pretty dangerous thing to say, especially during bull season, because that's when the dogs start barking. But I'm gonna in this Idaho Potato Bowl, give me the Utah State Aggies -2.5. Darren Granger, I'm sorry. You lose Marcus Carroll, you lose your left tackle, or sorry, your right tackle, you lose Robert Lewis. They kind of slouched on the way, like that last part of the season. I think these are two teams that kind of in similar spots, but Georgia State did not keep their roster together after the season. So give me Utah State. Give me the Aggies.
Like, I'm pretty pissed we're not gonna have Cooper Legas play in this football game. Although I love Levi Williams. Cooper Legas is a hero in bowl games for sure. But yeah,
Legend. Well, he's a bowl game legend.
he is with one of the most iconic clips ever. But yeah, Darren Granger is gonna have to carry a load a little bit more than he would like to, or maybe the coaching staff would have liked him to, with how good Marcus Carroll has been, with how good Robert Lewis has been. You're looking at these guys in the transfer portal and you're seeing them go to legit Power 5 football programs. And like, okay, yeah, like that's just hard to replace them in season in the bowl game while you're trying to recruit, while you're trying to get transfer portal and get your team ready to play in this football game. Yeah, I'm gonna go Utah State here. I don't feel great about it because I still think Georgia State's just just more talented than Utah State, right? Like Utah State didn't really impress me all year, and obviously I love Levi Williams, but it hurts not having Cooper Legas. Um, Yes, Devin Dye out. I don't think that's too big of a deal. I think they got some depth there. But on that, I can see a world Georgia State covers and wins, but I'm gonna go Utah State here just to kind of be a little bit more safer. I mentioned to see what they got at running back there. A lot of times, like you saw with the Ohio game, you had these backup running backs that just come in and just feast, right? And
Yeah,
like sometimes running back, not
seriously.
not to not to discredit anything that Marcus Carroll's done or Casey Adams has done at Georgia State. But sometimes you got a guy in there that's just been waiting to turn, itching for it. He's got fresh legs all year, and he can really get after it in his bowl game.
Yeah, I mean, look, and Freddie Brock, he's a senior. He did this might be his last game. I don't know if he's got eligibility left, but he might be coming out ready to go. So
Well,
who knows?
sometimes there are these freshmen that are like they've been saving their red shirt, right? And so they can't burn it during the year. But in the bowl games, it doesn't count for red shirts, right? You get 4 in the regular season. You can play with however many games in the postseason. And sometimes some guys can come out of nowhere for you. They're not saying I know of anybody on Georgia State or what Utah State's gonna happen, but sometimes you gotta look out for that. Like, oh, where's this guy been all year? Oh, he's been redshirting, and now he's ready to play after a full season on the practice squad, getting acclimated to college football after like 2.5 weeks of bowl prep. Then he gets after it in a bowl game.
Yeah, so it'd not be the craziest thing for Georgia State to win this game, and it feels criminal to fade the Sun Belt. But yeah, give me Levi Williams and the Aggies. I don't think that's crazy at all. I mean, look, Levi Williams coming back, winning that game against New Mexico to send the team to a bowl game. He
Yep.
didn't have a particularly amazing game, but he did on the ground. Yes, he did. That kid can move 6'5", 230 from Canyon Lake, Texas. I like him a lot. I like him a lot. So
The
yeah,
the problem with this Utah State team is they just don't have any wins that you feel really, really good about. It's like, oh, like they showed up for 4 quarters and they beat a pretty average or pretty above average team in the Mountain West. And like the wins are New Mexico. Nevada, San Diego State, Colorado State, and you're looking at the bottom of the Mountain West standings, and those are those four teams. Not to discredit anything that this roster has done, right? The Aggies out west, but I don't know. That's why I'm so hesitant to take Georgia State. In our bowl pool, I did put just a little points on Utah State. Um, but that's why it's like, okay, how good are they really if they can't beat, but they competed in some of these games against, Fresno State and even James Madison, which is pretty close, about as well as anybody played them all year. So yeah, this should be an awesome matchup. The Idaho Potato Bowl is always fantastic. This is in the Boise Stadium, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
This
which
is it.
is
Oh, it's in
just
it's in
awesome.
Boise, Idaho.
I wish it was
Yeah.
in the the Idaho University of Idaho's stadium, which is just an iconic little dome there. Um, but obviously not much seating there for you.
The
But
Vandals.
Boise Stadium's also as well.
Yeah. I don't know. Again, this is one of those ones where I mean, if we're back here the next time we start picking more bowl games and we're talking about this game, I would not be surprised if Georgia State, if you, like you said, a rando running back came out and ran for 200 yards. I mean, that's what makes bowl games
Yep.
special too, in a way,
Yep.
So let's talk the 68 Ventures Bowl. Let's go to Mobile, Alabama. Let's talk about basically a home game for South Alabama playing against Eastern Michigan, who's got I mean, they'll be flying, but it'd be otherwise literally what, an 18-hour drive, 20-hour drive for these guys. Kind of a long trip for these guys. Eastern Michigan missing some guys in their roster too. I believe Austin Smith is not going to be playing in this game. Micah Coleman, an edge, he's coming to Cincinnati. Alex Merritt's not playing. Zach Conti's not playing. He transferred to Southern Miss. And for South Alabama, right, you lose your biggest weapon on offense. Well, arguably
Mm.
biggest weapon in Colin Lacey. But, well, and LaDamian Webb is not playing either due to injury. And Carter Bradley might not be playing due to injury. But
But
Gio Lopez is a
we love
stud.
him. We
Gio Lopez
love
is a
him.
stud. When I was watching him, now, of course, I was uh, a Troy guy, putting money on Troy when they were playing South Alabama. South Alabama was missing Carter Bradley. I'm like, Gio Lopez guy. I'm like, whatever. Turns out that kid kind of slings the rock a little bit. He extends plays. He's pretty talented. He's got a good arm. There were a couple drops by Colin Lacey that would have put him in a position to, potentially screw me out of some money. But I still really like Alabama or South Alabama. They're playing in Mobile. I know it's 16 and a half. 16 and a half is a huge line. That's a lot of points. But Eastern Michigan is not good. They're not good at all. Give me South Alabama to win. And I'll take the 16 and a half. I don't care. South Alabama is way better than the Eastern Michigan team. Way better. And there's a reason that this line's a 16 and a half, even with all of the injuries and the transfer portal stuff. No Colin Lacey, no LaDamian Webb, probably no Carter Bradley. And the line is still 16 and a half. Yeah, because there's a gigantic talent gap between these two teams. It's gigantic.
Yeah, I saw Eastern Michigan in person here, and with all due respect to them, they're not a really good football team. Samson Evans, I do like a ton. Um, very guy you can root for sure. There, I love the no gloves. I think he doesn't play with gloves, which is just awesome in 2023 to
Illinois,
find a running back
Illinois
like
high
that.
school, Illinois high school legend.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. But yeah, you mentioned this is basically a home game. It's being played in their home stadium for South Alabama. Yes, the field will be painted a different color. The thing I'm wondering about is, are they going to be in their home locker room? Like, how does that work? It's not, is Eastern Michigan technically the home team, so they get the home lockers, or is South Alabama just going to be able to negotiate their way to keeping their
I
lockers?
I have no idea how this is gonna work. I have no
D-
idea.
don't don't really care either way. But yeah, if Bradley plays, awesome. But Gio Lopez has been there. You mentioned Joe Lopez just being a baller in his own right, but Desmond Trotter's looked good in his own right. Like when he's had his limited action there as a senior. The LaDamian Webb, I think that one hurts a little bit more than Colin Lacey. Just because of the way, you help a young quarterback get into it, or an inexperienced quarterback get into it with a really good running game. I do like Bullock. right? They're back up there, 5 yards of carry, 3 touchdowns. Not super, super, a chunk play, explosive kind of guy, but he can get it done for sure. Jamal Pritchard, though, look for him to have a big time game for South Alabama in the absence of Colin Lacey, right?
What about Braylon?
That should be
What
fun.
about Braylon McReynolds, the sophomore?
Yeah, yep, for sure.
Wouldn't be surprised if he got some action there.
I would love that for them there. But yeah, I'm gonna go. It's tough to swallow. Pause. It's tough to take 16.5 points for South Alabama, but I'm gonna do it anyways because I just don't see how many um points that Eastern Michigan can put up. Right, even if Austin Smith doesn't play, right, the backup, it's kind of right. Like, and he's more of a run guy. Who knows what they can do there and if they can get creative for him.
Yeah,
But
Udengwu. Yeah, he's not good. He's not good at all.
yeah, and they got some guys in the trenches there on both sides of football, in the trench portal, going to some power schools there. So it'll be interesting. But yeah, I'm South Alabama in a home game. That's what sucks for them though. Like, at least send them somewhere fun, have them go, sightsee and tour and do all the fun things you can do with a bowl game. Like, but I guess it's all business for them there, and I think that's how they like it.
I guess, but the other way to look at that, right, is what day is this game being played? Saturday, December 23rd. I mean, they get a lot of these guys are from Alabama. Like a lot of these guys are from Alabama. Like in-state talent. Some guy. I mean,
Yep.
Colin Lacey is like a Mobile guy. Obviously, he's not playing the game, but there's a lot of talent that comes from Alabama that goes to South Alabama. These guys get to home for Christmas Eve. You know,
Yeah, and their
so
families
that's
too can come up for them.
yeah. The families can come visit. I mean, I'm sure they got those tickets sorted out, and I don't know. I think kind of works both ways. Kind of works both ways. I think they're happy to be in a bowl game at 6-6. Now, I think they had higher aspirations for the season, given how good they were last season. The loss to Texas State that last week was tough. The loss to Central Michigan early in the season was beyond tough, beyond tough. And that was a game where South Alabama was favored by 16.5 against a Max team who's not particularly that great. Uh,
Yeah.
but
Also, that was coming off a big win against Oklahoma State.
yeah, it could have been just a giant letdown spot. So I don't know. If Eastern Michigan ends up winning this game, touche, Dangu. Touche.
The
But
thing is, in a lot of these games that they lost is like they were taken advantage of through the air, especially that last game with TJ Finley. And I don't see Austin Smith or Odengwo or whoever it's going to be, Cameron McCoy, being able to do that and expose them. And maybe they can backdoor cover. Maybe South Alabama just shortens the game and gets done. But I think Kane Womack is going to have ready to play, and they'll really get after it at their home stadium.
let's go to Vegas. How about that? Utah, some Mormons going to Vegas playing against Northwestern. Northwestern catching 6.5. Uh, this one's gonna be certainly interesting. Ben Bryant wins ball games, dude. Like actually
It,
underratedly, like let me just say something. And this is like we like talking NFL draft, and we will once NFL draft kind of like starts rolling around here. We like to talk about
mhm.
our guys, like give them a nice, uh, I guess a parting gift by talking about them. I don't know what to call it. But Ben Bryant is not going to be talked about, so I'll talk about him here. He wins ball games. He's got the size. He's for the most part pretty accurate. He lacks arm strength, in particular athleticism at all. But everywhere he's been, it doesn't matter where he goes.
Jesus Christ.
Cincinnati, Cincinnati, he wins. Eastern Michigan, he wins ball games. Northwestern, he wins ball games. This Ben Bryant guy just wins ball games. I don't know what to tell you. Now Utah's kind of a different beast than a lot of the teams that they played this year, being
Yeah.
in the Big Ten West and all. Although the archetype of Utah kind of matches up with some of the teams of the Big Ten West. Not a ton of
They fit
offense.
really well in Iowa City.
Exactly, exactly. So, but Bryson Barnes honestly played pretty good football down the stretch, if you ask me.
Hmm.
Nate Johnson, I don't believe will be suiting up for this game because he's transferring. Where did he transfer to? Vanderbilt, right? I believe he transferred to Vanderbilt. So good luck to him. But if Bryson Barnes is playing this game, I like Utah a lot. Gosh, and the Utah defense is so good. But they have a ton of people in the transfer portal, right? I mean, like, are these
Yep.
significant guys that are in the portal?
A couple of them. Jatavius Broughton, I like. Not really else. The only ones you like, you're hurt are the injuries, right? Logan Fano and Lander Barton. That's early in the year. They dealt with a ton of injuries. Jonah Ellis, right? A beast along that D line there. And then obviously your two safeties who are just incredible. Sion
Stud.
Vaki and Cole Bishop.
You
Just
love Sion
about as good as
Vaki.
you get.
Well, I love both those guys. I've been talking to Cole Bishop. I've been on the Cole Bishop hype train for, I mean, ever now. But Sion Vaki playing running back and wide receiver this year, along with playing safety, is just unbelievable. I love that a ton. But yeah, but then you get Northwestern, who you lose your guard, I guess, in the transfer portal. But then other than that,
Nobody.
not really anyone. Gosh, credit to this team keeping it together. Ben Bryant, his last game as a college football player, because he's been in the league like 800 million years. Let's see if you can go get him. I will be taking Utah to win, but I'll be taking Northwestern plus 6.5 here. I will be taking that just because I don't know. This could be a blowout, and it really could be a blowout. But I've said that about so many Northwestern games this year. It's crazy,
It just
right? And there's one game that I was gonna say is like just unironically, just like such a slow, chugging field position type game. It's this one, right? It's this
yep.
game right here. You have this one circled. So I think the total is only at like 39.5. If I'm being correct in that, or 40.5, whatever it
Mm.
is. I'll pull it up right now. Oh, it's 41.5. Well,
It's
that's
up to
pretty decent.
41 and a half. Yep.
Yeah, actually didn't get open at 42.5. Gosh, why did I not get on that? Should have been on that. What am I doing? But anyways, yeah, I'll take Utah to win Northwestern to cover. Let's middle it plus 6.5.
Yeah, with those low margin or those low totals, like middling, it's a pretty good play because they expect it to be a pretty close game. Hard to blow somebody out if the under is cashing, especially a low under for sure. I don't know here. I've kind of gone back and forth. My gut tells me Utah and just take the points because they are. I just can't. I just refuse to pick Northwestern to beat a really competent football team. But at the same time, like how competent is Utah with how many opt-outs they have, the injuries they battled, and just a tough year, a grueling year for them. Um, how much do they have left in the tank here? And I assume that, Whittingham and them will be ready to go. And I hate picking against them, so I won't. I'll take Utah in the points to say all that. But I guess in games where they played a pretty elite quarterback, they kind of got outclassed and kind of lost pretty badly. We talked about Ben Bryant at the beginning of this episode here, and I guess he's good. He wins ball games, but I don't think he can really do what you want against a really good Utah defense. Now it hurts not having your D lineman. It hurts not having the two safeties back there. I don't think Northwestern's the team that can really take advantage of it. And I think Utah gets enough done on the ground and with Bryson Barnes playing better football. And Utah gets a good win to just kind of put a cap on what's been actually a really successful season despite all the injuries.
I agree. Successful season, I think, for both teams. Obviously, Utah's over under win total was at like 8.5, depending on what you got it at, but they finished 8-4. So maybe like they didn't exceed their expectations, but gosh, with all those injuries that happened to them this year and Cam Rising never fully returning, I thought they did fine, man. I thought they battled hard. They won some close ball games. They won some ball games against some good teams. Big fan. Big fan of the way that Utah was operating this year, that coaching staff, and Northwestern the same. Kudos to both teams. I can't wait to see how this turns out. Are you officially taking, did you take Utah minus 6.5 and a win?
Yeah, yeah, I'll take both those. I do think the women's football game, like this game more than ever, you mentioned field position, slowing the game down. Like turnovers are going to play a huge factor in this. And for Northwestern to get a win here, a lot of their games where they were scoring points, they were getting short fields, they were turning teams over on downs, yada yada yada. I don't think Utah. I think Utah understands like that's Northwestern's path to victory in this game. I think Bryson Barnes take care of the football. They try to run the ball well. Hopefully their running backs are healthy. Right, they battled injuries all year. Hopefully they get them all back and can really get after it. Devon Valley being out is tough for Bryson Barnes there, but I still think he gets it done. The hard part about it too is like how how does it work if your quarterback is in the portal? Like how bought in is everybody else around him? is the O line protecting him. I know nobody's just gonna give up on the guy or give up on your team and your teammates, but at the same time, like that's got to be hard, especially if like shit hits the fan in that first quarter, and then Bryson Barnes is trying to rally guys to get after it. How motivated is he going to be? And also, how motivated is he going to be able to motivate other people? So it's all very interesting. It's a new age of college football. Who knows what it's all about? But at the end of the day, yeah, Utah, but I don't love it.
Well, let's fly from Vegas to Hawaii here.
Not too
Let's go
bad.
to the let's go to the Hawaii Bowl. Coastal Carolina Chanticleers squaring off against a very hot team in San Jose State Spartans. Coastal Carolina will not be having Grayson McCall, will not have Jared Guess, but they do have someone just as good.
Who
His name
cares,
is
man?
is Ethan friggin' Vasco. He's a stud in his own right. But Cordero for San Jose State is also a stud here.
Hmm.
Coastal Carolina is not going to have Jared Brown. I don't know where did he commit to South Carolina? I think he
Yep.
committed to South Carolina. They're not going to have CJ Beasley. They're not going to have starting linebacker JT Killen. But San Jose State's also missing their starting left tackle, their tight end. Other than that, looks like it's going to be pretty decent look ahead squad. Kind of these two teams playing good football at the moment that are still holding on to a lot of their roster, still holding on to their coaching staffs. This is one of those rare bowl games where you kind of get the two teams at full strength almost, you know?
Well, yeah, minus the quarterbacks for Coastal Carolina, but they've been in and out of the lineup
Yeah,
all
but
year. I mean, your third string
Ethan
quarterback has
Vasco has been a stud.
233. Yeah, that's the thing. Ethan Vasco has 233 snaps. Yeah, Jared Brown is gone, which is tough there for you, but Sam Peckney's also just a freak in nature in his own right. Like they're gonna miss Brown for sure, but Peckney will do.
Yeah, so I like this a lot. 10 points is a lot. Coastal Carolina is catching 10 points. Uh, that is a ton of points, and for that reason, I will be taking Coastal Carolina plus 10. But I will be taking San Jose State to win. So another one of those games. Now the total in this game, I believe, is pretty high. If I had to guess, yeah, 52. Well, that's not super high, but it's high. I'll take it. I'll middle it. Give me Coastal Carolina plus 10. Give me San Jose State Spartans to win straight up. I believe in all my bowl pools. I have San Jose State to win this game straight up, and I have a pretty decent amount of points on them. But 10 points is a lot. 10 points is a lot of points to cover. So give me the Chanticleers to cover.
I'm gonna ride with you here. I'll middle it as well. San Jose State to win, but Coastal Carolina to cover. I just think you can't cover 10 points against Ethan Vasco. He won't let you. As good as San Jose State's playing right now, would have loved to see them in that bowl game against Boise State. Obviously didn't get that, or not in the bowl game, the Mountain West Championship. Obviously didn't get that. I think they'll be plenty happy to just get after whoever they're going to play in the bowl game. In this case, it's going to be Coastal Carolina. Fernando Carmona, yes, you mentioned the left tackle is a tough loss for him, but at the same time, like Kerry Robinson is just so good. He is one of the best running backs in the country, and if you haven't watched him play yet, you're in for a real treat here in this Hawaii Bowl. His backup as well, Quali Conley, has been really good in the spots where he does um spell Robinson, and you mentioned Cordero has been awesome. Has been really, really awesome. Jay Butterfield, a guy transferring there from Oregon. A lot of people thought, maybe he'll battle Cordero for the spot, and Cordero has just taken it, by the horns and just dominated this year. I thought, especially in that back half of the schedule, played super, super well. That's why I'm gonna go San Jose State here, but 10 is a lot to cover. And so I'll take Carolina to cover.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, San Jose State is just so hot though. Like 10 points, it's a lot of points. I also think it is reasonable because I mean they dominated New
But
Mexico, they dominate Utah State, they dominate Hawaii, they dominate Fresno State, they dominate San Diego State, they dominate UNLV. UNLV came back and kind of made that game a little bit close, but feels like these wins that they have are very
convincing.
convincing wins. And Coastal Carolina's played good with Ethan Vasco, but some of these like games that San Jose State has played against like mobile quarterbacks, aka like Logan Fife when he was playing for Fresno State that game, they shut him down. They shut down his legs.
Hmm.
Jordan Miava doesn't have great legs, but he's pretty athletic. They shut him
And
down.
Daquan Finn too, early
Yeah,
in the year.
Daquan Finn, they shut him down. Jalen Maiden for San Diego State, they shut down his legs. So I mean, I'm pretty sure Taylon Green got pulled in this game when uh didn't he fumble in this game or something? I don't know. But anyways, yeah, I mean I'm excited for this game. Coastal Carolina is a fun team to watch. I haven't gotten to watch as much San Jose State football as I've wanted to this year. So I'm excited to watch them in this game for sure. It's so late, you know. But yeah, I regret I didn't really get to watch the what game am I thinking of? I didn't get to watch the Boise State game, San Diego or San Jose State. I didn't really get to watch that game, so that was a good game, and I'm excited. I think this is gonna be a really good game. It's gonna be closer than I think. It'll be within 10 points, is what I think, and you think so too. So let's get after it.
You also have to think about that dynamic of, I mean, you're going from San Jose State, right, in California, West Coast country, just short flight to Hawaii. Coastal Carolina's got to go all the way across like 6 or 7 time zones to get all the way to Hawaii, whatever it is. That's a long travel, and like, yes, they'll have fun. They'll be there 5 days in advance, and they'll get maybe that jet lag out of their system. But same time, like, who knows? Like that can be a dynamic for that too as well. And the line opened at 7.5. It's moved all the way to 10. I'm not sure quite why. Maybe because of Jared Guest in the portal or McCall or Brown, whatever it is. But yeah, I'm not too worried about it here. I do think it helps us, giving it that extra cushion. But I wouldn't, like you mentioned, I wouldn't be surprised if San Jose State just takes it and runs with it.
Let's talk about the Quick Lane Bowl. Let's talk about.
Sheesh.
Let's go to Detroit. An absolute headliner game.
Yep,
The
that's the right word.
rematch. Bowling Green versus Minnesota. Bowling Green catching 3.5. You're the gopher. You're the Minnesota guy. You're rowing the boat. Let's no Ethan Kaliakmanis. No Drew
Fine.
Viotto. You got Cole
I,
Kramer starting the game here.
I do think. Okay, Cole Kramer, by the way, if you aren't familiar with Minnesota football, right, and he loves, right, running the football, taking care of the ball, playing good defense, field position, punting on 4th and 1, right? Those are all things that Cole Kramer does to his specialty. Now, taking care of the ball through the air, not really. He's thrown a couple passes in his career, and a lot of, like, half of them I think have been intercepted. So like it's not great for him, but he was a former triple option guy from EP, Eden Prairie powerhouse in the state of Minnesota. They run the triple option there. Really good athlete himself. You've seen him play Wildcat quarterback a couple years ago with all the injuries. He'd come in on short yards packages. He was actually going to retire. By the way, he's getting married this spring. He's looking to get a full-time job. He's just graduating school. He's getting a second degree. Like he's ready to move on for football. And all of a sudden, Calic Man hits the portal. Drew Viotto hits the portal, and we're like, hey, Kramer, like you've been waiting here for 5 years. You want to play? And you got a lot of NIL money to come back, and there he is. And I think he's really excited to get his opportunity. None of the other portal, misses are really that big of a deal. Zach Evans is gone, but Darius Taylor sounds like he will be back and as healthy as he has been since week 2, right? When he balled out in a lot of those games in early September. And Cody Lindenberg also going to be back, about as healthy as he can be. You're probably going to miss Tyler Nubin, who I'd imagine sit out, but you also have, that means insert Coleman Bryson, star of the Bad Boy Mowers Bowl, MVP in 2022, when Tyler Nubin did sit out as well, hit a pick six in that game. Brevin Spanford, I'm assuming, is going to sit out as well. So look for Nick Callerup, Jameson Gears, and also Pierce Walls, the true freshman, to get some more run there at tight end. Here's the deal. Everyone remembers that Bowling Green game 2 years ago when they came into our house and they beat Minnesota, and
That's
we
30
blew a
point
lead.
underdogs.
We just couldn't move the football whatsoever. We were trying to get acclimated life after Mo Ibrahim tore his Achilles. It was really tough, and I think that left a sour taste in a lot of those guys' minds. I think a lot of them are gone, but PJ Fleck is still there. A lot of the coaching staff is still there. PJ has a ton of respect for the MAC, being a MAC guy, coach, and player. They won't take this lightly, and they care about bowl games. I'll tell you that. Like, part of being Minnesota's football coach is beating your rivals, right? which beat Iowa this year, has beaten Wisconsin the past couple years, and win your bowl games. When you get to them bowl games and win it, they're 5-7 because of their academic rating. They have been able to play in this football game, which is cool how that kind of works for Minnesota's favor. But yeah, I don't know, man. I do think Harold Fannin, right, the tight end slash running back slash wide receiver for Bowling Green, will probably be the best player on the field when he plays. And I think that's not a jab at Minnesota's defense, even though it's kind of been pretty shaky this year, especially without Joe Rossi, another guy, star defense coordinator, heading over to Michigan State. He's a baller. He's a legit Power Five, legit D1 guy. He'll be an NFL guy, I think, one day. Does a lot of things for him, really, really well. And yeah, he's going to be a mismatch nightmare. Hopefully, with Lindenberg coming back, he can, match him up as well. We got a true freshman, Kerry Brown, probably going to be playing some at safety because of all the injuries there. So we'll see. I'm not going to give a pick right now. I'll let you talk about it, and then I'll give my pick. But what you thinking about this?
Um, well, I'll give you this. These are two teams trending in the opposite directions, right? Unfortunately, Minnesota took a dive the last 4 games of the season. Granted,
Yeah.
it was against some pretty good competition aside from Purdue.
But
No,
Purdue
let's be
and
real. Let's be real. Purdue stinks. All right.
Purdue's terrible, and so is Wisconsin's not very good, and neither is Illinois.
Yeah, and you know what? Bowling Green, they were competitive against Toledo. They probably should have won that game. They have a
Yep.
very good defensive front. They're letting up only 4 yards a carry on the year. Connor
Yep.
Bazelak, they're I don't even know what their offense is, but he gets the ball around. I mean, he gets the ball
And
around a
they,
little bit when he needs to.
they run some weird stuff with Camden Orth at quarterback. He's got 64 carries on the day. Like they spell Bazelak with Orth a little bit and getting him in the action. There was some wildcat and some triple option and some RPO stuff. It's interesting style they have there in the MAC.
Yeah. Now Teron Keith, they're one of their running backs, who's actually I believe leads their team in receptions. He will not be playing in this game, so it's just going to be Stewart at running back. So that does change a little bit dynamic if you're relying on Keith a ton in the pass game. Like, what are you going to do in that instance? Uh, this is one of those games where I'm probably going to regret it, but I'm gonna take Bowling Green plus 3.5, and I will take them to win straight up in this game. I do think Minnesota cares about bowl games a lot, as they should, and they do great in bowl games, and that's honestly a real thing that you have to look at, right? Like bowl games, like how do teams historically play in bowl games? That's something you have to evaluate, and Minnesota does a great job of that. I don't love Cole Kramer at all. It's one of my favorite. What do they call it? Like the grids or whatever, NCAA grids. It'll be
Oh,
like
come on.
name a Big Ten player that has like one rushing yard, and I always put Cole Kramer. It's like 0.0001% or whatever of people put Cole Kramer. Uh, I don't know. I don't love his game very much. I don't love Connor Bazelak's game, but I think he can do a lot if Tyler Nubin's not playing.
Yep.
So I'm gonna take Bowling Green plus 3.5, and I'll take them to win straight up. I believe I took them. I only put like 1 point on them to win in the bowl pool because I think like everyone's kind of just chalking up Minnesota. Like, oh, that team's playing Bowling Green. It's a Power 5 team. They win bowl games. Whatever. I'm just gonna pick them. They probably putting a lot of points on that. So I went a little opposite. I didn't put a lot of points in it because I could see it. I could very likely see a scenario where Minnesota just runs the ball 100 billion times with Darius Taylor and just wins the ball game. But yeah, Corey Krug's opted out, right? Is he's going to the draft, or he's still? Oh,
So,
he's
so
still
he,
playing in the
he
bowl game.
he'll still
He's
play. He's declaring for
yeah,
the draft, but he'll still play. And I mean, he'll barely catch it. He's a former MAC guy. He played his best football against the MAC team he's very familiar with in Bowling Green. Yeah, I do think I took Minnesota in the bowl pool, but that was before Joe Rossi left from Michigan State. I think that is a huge loss. Our defense was so bad this year down the stretch. So many injuries, so many moving pieces. Got exposed against Illinois, exposed against Purdue, Ohio State. Tanner Mordecai looked like a really good quarterback against us, which he is not all year. I'm gonna go Bowling Green here with you as well. I'm really gonna ride it.
wow.
I it's
Oh my
so frustrating
gosh.
to say that. I'll be rooting my heart out for Minnesota. I hope they win. They need this win. This would be killer, but it has been an awesome offseason for them, getting in some transfers, keeping Corey Parrish. There's a lot of optimism around this Minnesota football team, even after a 5-7 start or a season. A loss here would be leave an absolutely sour taste in a lot of fans and players' mouth. But I just don't. I think Connor Bazelak, fan and boys. They will get after this get after in this game. Last year, Bowling Green played in the same exact bowl game, Quicken Lane, and they lost to Mexico State and Diego Pavia. I think they're a little bit better this year than they were last year. This is the same team that beat Georgia Tech. Okay, like this is not a bad football team. Um, it's crazy that this is only a 3.5 point spread, but I think that Vegas is begging to take Minnesota and understand that Bowling Green is pretty comparable to them right now because of all the injuries, because of the coordinator change and everything that's happened there. And yes, I didn't love Calic Manis all year. I didn't think he played great, but there were times against inferior competition where he would play super, super good. And I think that O line, the key to victory for Minnesota here is just lean on them, right? Your whole O line's coming back and playing this game. You saw what they did to Eastern Michigan and some other inferior teams, and they just ran the ball. And when Derek Taylor's healthy, he will probably have 30 carries and he'll probably have 200 yards. And if he does that, they'll probably win the football game. But I still think like you get in a shootout here, you get down early. Cole Kramer is not built to play from behind, nor is he built to throw the football. And neither is his team in general to play from behind. So we'll see here. I do think the Joe Rossi thing that really does get me. But they got some guys in there with some play calling experience, but not a ton. And so it's just gonna be we'll see what happens. Danny Collins, I would assume, is probably gonna be the play caller for you there. Stud recruiter, right? John Parrish. And also he's probably been with Joe Rossi the longest, which helps there. But yeah, this is kind of crazy here. But you got some seniors on this team that want to win this football game and that will hopefully, make up for some of the losses that they do have there. But yeah, this is this is crazy. It's about as good as a matchup as you could have gotten for Minnesota, and I still think you might lose this game.
Yeah, I mean, this was probably as good of a matchup as Minnesota could have gotten though, like for a bowl
Perfect.
game.
Because
It
it
was
was
perfect.
either this game or it was going to be Kansas, and you were about to get shredded by Kansas.
Eh,
So
Yeah,
no, this is about as good as it could have been, and yet it's definitely concerning. We'll see though. I do think like it wouldn't surprise me either way. Like this is a 3.5 point spread, anyways. So I wouldn't be surprised if Minnesota wins. Obviously, they're favored in this game, but my gut just tells me Bowling Green can be hard to stop them, which is just I can't believe I'm saying that sentence out loud.
dagger, dagger, dagger.
It wouldn't be a dagger. It wouldn't be a dagger, but it would be brutal because you had some momentum with signing day, right? With transfer portal, you're bringing up some guys, but Joe Rossi gone, new quarterback. But I guess it's been a net upgrade in the room for sure. You're bringing in three guys that are way better than anyone else they
Huge,
have in this room.
huge. Oh my God, that
And
quarterback room is like every single one of those players in the quarterback room next year is going to be better than every single player in the quarterback room last year.
yeah, which is crazy. And you got Logan Fife to come over and be a backup, which is just crazy.
Who
And I
knows?
love Logan Fife. That's the thing.
What if he gets after it? I don't know.
Well, first of all, like sprained ankle happens just about all the time in college football. Injuries happen whenever he could play a ton of football next year. And he's a baller. I love he could actually beat out Prosmer and Drake Lindsay. But yeah, so I love to talk with Logan Fife. Um, at some point, I'll try to like get after him and see if we can bring him on. But yeah, this is an awesome game.
He's a stud. I've been saying Logan Pace is a stud for a while, but let's
No,
go.
Mac, real quick, Max Brosmer is actually practicing for Minnesota this week. Somehow, right? Like I don't know how that actually works, but he can't play in the football game. But he can be a scout team quarterback, which is awesome because there are two quarterbacks on this roster right now. It is your fifth year senior, right? Cole Kramer, and then also your walk on true freshman, Max S. I'm not even going to say his name, but he is a Minnesota football
Ah.
legend. Like he was kind of a baller as a high school senior. But other than that, you don't have a scout team quarterback. So who's going to play it? And it's going to be Brosmer, which is nice because I think, you know, yeah, it's definitely important in these bowl prep games.
Let's go to the first responder bowl. Let's talk Texas State. Let's talk Rice. And let's skip all the heebie-jeeba bologna sandwiches. All right. And let's just get to the I'm slamming Texas State minus five and a
Come
half.
on.
I'm slamming Texas State minus five and a half. You're telling me a Rice team with no JT Daniels, a Texas State team that pretty much gets everyone back, right? Am I right by that?
Just about everyone important. I mean, Joey Hobart has been hurt. Same with Dorian Strawn, but I think that's not really news to them. I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Come on. TJ Finley's been balling out this year for the most part, especially against inferior competition. Especially. Especially. He has
Hmm.
struggled in that Troy game, but he is absolutely balled out. Absolutely balled out. Now, Rice in their own right, right? Even against like SMU, right, when they didn't have JT Daniels in that game, where he got hurt in the middle of that game, and you had Paget come in. Paget hasn't played terribly, right? He played really well against FAU, and they won that game. He didn't play great against Charlotte, but they still won that game because they just ran the ball a ton. But Texas State, they're one of the leaders in the country in tackles for loss. We talked about that a couple times when we covered them. I don't know that Rice is going to be able to run the ball against his front. I don't know if Padge is going to be dicing up Texas State. They could be. He could be because that Texas State secondary is not fantastic. Gunnar Watson absolutely diced him up, and
So
so
did
did
Jalen Raynor.
so did Jalen Rayner. But Padgett, I don't think has that same it factor per se. This game is being played in Dallas, so it's close for both teams. Both teams reside in the state of Texas. Texas State's in San Marcos. Rice is in Houston. This is going to be a really good game. This is going to be a really good game. But ugh, when I see it, man, like, I mean, Rice does not have a particularly great win this year, except from the Houston game when they went to like double overtime and magically won that game. But that was a completely different team. That was a JT Daniels led team. I just, I love Texas State in this spot. I love it. Give me 5.5. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think they'll be able to run the football. I do think I like when this matchup first came out, and I was like, okay, maybe JT Daniels comes back. I know he's been a little bit hurt. I was like, maybe I'll flirt with Rice here a little bit, but I did like Texas State anyways. And now that Daniel's officially medically retired, hopefully he can move on to the rest of his life with some peace and in his injuries. But yeah, I really like Texas State here, and 5.5 I don't think is enough. I think Finley and them can really get after it. I love Mahdi, right? The running back is a baller.
Oh, good.
Um,
He's so good.
he doesn't grade
So
out great on
good.
PFF, but I think he runs the ball really really well
I
for
think
him.
he's so good. Well, he does
And I,
everything. He's all purpose. Like he's an all purpose player.
yep,
I think he
and,
was
and
was he second team All American all purpose player, something like that. I think he was.
I'm not
He
too
was somewhere up there. He
sure.
was really good.
Regardless,
Ishmael
though, I
Mahdi.
don't. I think the Sun Belt is literally a better conference than the American, and I don't think that's crazy with all the subtractions the American has had. I think the Sun Belt's really, really good, especially it's just so deep. You see with all these bowl teams playing in the games. I know they've struggled early in games, right? They're off to a 1-4 start, but either way, TJ Finley really, really good. Hopefully they get Hobart back, but I'm not counting on it. I don't really care too much. Either way, I'm excited to see Texas State play and get after it. Oh, Hawkins too. I forgot about him. Yeah, he's a baller as well.
Yeah.
Big play guy, 16 yards per catch. Look for him to get involved as well.
Yeah, I do like that Rice though. They found something in Dean Connors pretty like kind of late in the year. I mean, the guy's only got like 100 carries. He's averaging almost 7 yards
Mhm.
a carry on the year. He kind of really found himself down the stretch, and that was kind of necessary because JT Daniels gets hurt. Whole bunch of issues there with that pass game. It was good to see him get going. I don't know if he gets going against Texas State, man. I don't know. So, gosh,
I mean,
how do you not take Texas State in the spot? Now that's the thing. You say that, and then all of a sudden you're looking at this. It's a bowl game, right? But GJ King though, like he's been really good there, dialing up stuff in offense for them. I like him a lot. I like him a lot. Players to watch out for, of course, also Luke McCaffrey, stud receiver for Rice, brother of Christian McCaffrey, guy that we talked about before the season, stepping up big time before
former
even
quarterback at Nebraska,
yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
yep. We were talking big about him before. What's his name transferred to NC State, their other good receiver, and then of course Luke McCaffrey did very well for me in college fantasy football this year. Almost 1,000 yards, a lot of receptions, 12 touchdowns. Kind of a stud. Kind of a stud. Yeah, 68 receptions. Also had like 100 yards on the ground. Yeah, they just find ways to get him the ball. And that's kind of going to be the key to the game, I think. If you can get him in the ball, with the ball in space, get him out in that secondary, push the ball down the field as much as you can with AJ Paget. I don't know, man. I don't know. But it's kind of a homecoming for AJ Paget, though. He's from Frisco, which is right from the Dallas area. So I'm sure his family will be there. I'm sure he'll be excited. I'm sure his friends will be there. He'll have a lot of support there. But TJ Finley's just been playing way too good at football this year for me to not take Texas State. Oh no, say he gets hurt. Malik Hornsby's a stud also.
Yeah,
So
and they're pretty creative there with what they can do offensively. Also, I do want to mention this defense. Yes, it's gotten some criticism at time from our show and obviously throughout the year because of their sometimes struggles in the Sun Belt, but they're very opportunistic. And when I say that, I mean interceptions, fumbles, sacks, turnovers, tackles for loss. Like this is it's a big play defense. And when they get going and Finley's hot, they run the football. Like this team can really blow out teams, and we've seen that all year at times all year. And I think that happens again in this game with maybe a lesser of a quarterback than JT Daniels, and I think there is a talent gap here, and it is Texas State's favor.
Absolutely.
Although I do want to mention EJ Warner coming over to Rice from Temple. That's a big time get for them. But also like then Rice must obviously not feel too great about their quarterback situation, right? So obviously, that sometimes what sometimes that can tell you stuff too as well.
Let's go to the guaranteed rate bowl. I believe this is the last game that we're talking about today. Yep.
Sadly,
Yep. Just confirmed it. Kansas favored by 12 and a half versus UNLV. Wow, that's a lot of points right there. That is a lot of points. UNLV's Jordan Mayava, Mountain West Freshman of the Year, stud. People thought he was going to the transfer portal. He said no. He said no.
big time get for him.
And you know what? UNLV also keep Barry Odom. They keep Mannion, their offensive coordinator, who's been really good for him. He had a lot of looks places. Like what they got going there. What does Kansas lose? Well, I don't know if Jalen Daniels. I could Jalen Daniels play in this game. I have zero clue. He has not played since week like 2 or whatever. But if he does play in this game, that does change a lot of things. I'm not sure on that, but their offense coordinator AK, he's taking the job at Penn State. That's a huge loss. He's been very, very good. He's been one of the best offensive coordinators for the last like 2 years now. But other than that, I don't think Kansas is losing a ton of stuff. Maybe some injuries on the offensive line, maybe. But UNLV's not really missing anyone aside from maybe their safety to an injury, maybe. But again, they've had a lot of time to recover Nurse's injuries. So you're kind of getting to two of these teams that well, really kind of feels like full strength almost. I don't know. Any thoughts on this game from you?
Yeah, I'm service. I just love Kansas here because I just think there's significantly more talented than UNLV. I love the way that they battled in year one under Barry Odom. I just thought that conference championship game and how they played down the stretch kind of was more of the UNLV team that I think we expected to come into the year. Not take anything away from them at all. And I love Jordan Maeva, and I'm happy that he's staying in Vegas there for him. But I think Kansas is just a really good culture and football team right now. It sucks. I do think losing their offensive coordinator to Penn State is a big deal. He was so creative and getting stuff done with a walk-on true freshman quarterback and still having chances to win football games. Really interesting, playing really well against teams like Oklahoma, et cetera, et cetera. Even if Bean plays and it's not Jalen Daniels, I don't feel too bad about it. I think they'll really get after it. I love Austin Booker off the edge for him. Really dynamic pass rusher for him as well. Devin Neal, of course, star running back. Henshaw is really good behind him as well. There's just a lot of weapons here on this team that I think can really expose UNLV at times. And while I love Ricky White and Vincent Davis, I don't know if there's enough firepower on UNLV to keep up in this game with Kansas, you know.
Yeah, and look, there was a certain time in the year when I was looking at UNLV, and I actually really liked their front seven, and they were playing really well. They were stopping the run, Jonathan Woodard and the boys. But down the stretch, San Jose State ran all over them. Boise State ran all over them. Kansas can run the ball very effectively. Now, if they're
Hmm.
missing some guys on the offensive line, that'll change things a little bit. But also at the same time, like Kansas hasn't been relying on having an amazing offensive line for their run game to be successful. It's a lot of misdirection. It's not a really good scheme. Getting hands on linebackers, powering through those holes. If you have Jason Bean in the backfield, right, you get a lot of read options there. You get a nice set of legs, an absolute track star in Jason Bean. So I like Kansas, and I like them minus 12 and a half, honestly. So that feels criminal. UNLV, you're looking at the Mountain West runner-up, catching 12 and a half. You would think that in the guaranteed rate bowl, I would be all over UNLV, but I will take Kansas, and I'll lay the points with them.
I'm gonna middle it here with Kansas. At minus 12 and a half, or at Kansas to win and UNLV plus 12 and a half. You mentioned the O line. That does scare me a little bit for them to be able to really separate in this game and not have UNLV come back and backdoor cover or keep it close all game. You mentioned those offensive linemen. That's tough too. A lot of times I like to look at like, okay, who's coming back for him? Their left tackle is going to be a true freshman, Calvin Clemens. Now I know they're pretty high on him, right, as a staff, but sometimes these guys aren't ready to play. Well, he has put on some weight, which he needed to do for sure, which has been important for him. But that still worries me for a team that can really get after the pass rusher for UNLV. So I don't know. We'll see here, but this is a very fascinating game. It's a tough draw for UNLV after a really great season for them, and Kansas too. But 12 and a half seems a little bit too high. That's how I'm going to go and middle it here.
Yeah, I mean, it is in Arizona, so it's a little hop, skip, and a jump away for UNLV, but it's not in terms of travel. That's not too far for Kansas either. It's only probably a
No,
few-hour flight. I mean, two, maybe 3 hours of a flight. I mean, I fly from Chicago to Houston. It's only 3 hours. It's not a big deal. Fall asleep on the plane. You're in the same time zone. No biggie. No biggie. But
exactly.
I'm a look. I'm a huge fan of Jordan Malva. I thought like when there were rumors that he was going in the transfer portal, I was like, holy cow, someone is going to get an absolute stud. I was like, Oregon's probably going to be on the phone with them. USC will probably be on the phone with them. But he's staying there. He wants to win there. So credit to him. Credit to him. And this is one of those games too where like how do the dynamics shake out, right? Does is this UNLV team really, really motivated in this bowl game to show up and show out and show that they can beat a Power Five team and be at that level of competition? Or is this one of those dynamics where you see Jason Bean in his last ever game? He came back last year. He was originally going to retire, or he's gonna graduate after the bowl game last year, but then that interception on the goal line left a bad taste in his mouth, or incomplete pass on the 2 point conversion. Left a bad taste in his mouth. Said, "I'm not finished. I come back," and here he is now. If he's playing that game, if Jalen Daniels plays, I just feel really good about it because he's just an absolute freak. But Jason Bean, like the dynamic there for him to play well is also in play. So I feel really good about this game. Uh, sorry, what I meant to say is I feel really good about this game in the sense where I will be watching this game and I have a feeling that it's going to be a great game. Kansas might not cover, and I'd be okay with that. I would be
Yeah,
okay with that. So
I will say that they've been super impressive all year. I mean, yes, they're 8-4, but first of all, for Kansas, that's still really, really impressive. Now, I know we think super highly of that program right now, but like 2 years ago, one year ago, that was unheard of. And even with their schedule to be able to do that, beat Illinois, beat Oklahoma, beat Iowa State, et cetera, et cetera. And the games they lost to, they were really close games. Right? A lot of times playing with backup quarterback, and they only really got outclassed in one game, and that was on the road at Texas, who was in the college football playoffs, and that did that to a lot of teams in the Big 12. I I, I just think 12 and a half is a little bit too big, but I still love the direction Kansas has. I love the coaching staff, even without the offense coordinator. I really believe in this program going forward. And obviously, Jalen Daniels coming back is a huge boost for next year. Um, but yeah, I'm just going to take UNLV to cover, though.
and everyone's favorite segment to lose money in Dawson's Diner. I've already hinted at it a little bit. Arkansas State -2.5. I believe you can get those out there. Hopefully, when this is posted, you can get those out there. If not, please do not attack me. All right. Love the Red Wolves here. Texas State -5.5. That might drop to 4.5 for all I know by kickoff, but I don't care. Give me the Bobcats to beat Rice in Dallas. Give me to beat them by 5.5 at least. So hopefully both of those cash. I was 0-2 last week. Let's get a bounce back here. I was 6-1 ATS. Just picking games. And of course, the Dawson's Diner was 0-2. How does that work? How does that work? I'm 60% ATS on the year, just picking games that we preview. And Dawson's Diner, it's 36-35, down 2 units on the year. When are we going to catch up? And I'm telling you,
Today.
it's right now. Get on it, lads. So thank you guys so much for checking out our bowl game previews. Part 2, we'll be sure to get you the next round of bowl games early next week before those games get out so you guys can um, check those out, our analysis, if that's what you guys do before you guys bet on these games or watch these games. I don't know what you guys do with these videos or why you watch them, but we thank you for it. If you like the video, like the content, like the video. It's the simple rule we have here. Make sure you guys are subscribed as well. We love all the support that we've had recently. If you're listening on Spotify, again, we love our Spotify listeners. Make sure you're following us. Hit that 5-star and, or fill out a Q&A on Spotify. I believe you can do that. Let us know what we're doing. Comment if you want to hear some more transfer portal or coaching carousel moves. We'll be getting to those as well once we start sorting through all of these bowl games. Thank you so much, CD. You got anything?
No, no, just do what he says. Like the video, subscribe, and thanks for continuing to support our channel. Enjoy the bowl games. All right, this is awesome time of year. We only got a couple more of these weeks left, and then we're into the off season. But just cherish this right now.
Absolutely. And we'll see you guys in the next one.